Hello and welcome to Quite Audacious with Amanda Swiger. I'm a self-made, rebellious and bold, multi-six-figure photographer whose deep belief in doing things my own way is why I have been so successful. I'm taking my love of audacity and bringing you answers to your actual questions about all things related to building a life and business you love, all for free, because I know the power of information in the hands of audacious folks just like you who are ready to chase their dreams. Alongside answering your questions, I'll be sharing in-the-moment riffs, honest conversations about owning your own business, and give you a behind-the-curtain look at everything I've done to build my business to what it is today. If you've got a question you'd like me to answer, simply DM it to me on Instagram at @theamandaswiger. Nothing is off the table here, friends. So pull up a seat and let's audaciously build the money-making business you love. I'm so glad you're here. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Quite Audacious. I am excited because I was unprepared for the amount of messages that we received, and by we, I mean I received on Instagram, of questions that y'all want me to tackle here on Quite Audacious. And I love this because there are so many things we can jump into. And that's kind of the point of this. I wanted there to be a lot of room for you to ask me whatever the hell y'all wanted to ask me. And yeah, I was like, we're going to have to record more episodes because y'all gave me some really good questions, which is exactly what I want. So we're going to be jumping into two different questions today. And they're both a little bit more on the wedding side of the spectrum, but I think that my answers might maybe be applicable in other areas. And the first one was a question saying, I was wondering what the average hours you have for your wedding packages are. Is there a certain amount that you typically have clients book you for? This is a great question. I definitely know that when I started out, I was like, is there a norm? I kept seeing 8 and 10 hours when it came to packages. So for my first many years, I had I think it was 6, 8, and 10. Nowadays, I have a few different options, and I'll talk you kind of through my process and why I have them the way they do. I would say most of my couples book me for somewhere between 7 to 10 hours. I do have a few weddings every year that are like 5 to 6 hours that are kind of more like not quite a full wedding and not quite an elopement. I love those weddings. You're not going to hear me mad about having a shorter wedding day. And then I do have occasionally a few 11 and 12-hour wedding days, especially my more like cultural weddings, Jewish weddings, Indian weddings, any times where people are kind of mixing up two different traditions, those sorts of things. Those wedding days do tend to be a lot longer. And sometimes I do occasionally have a big party wedding where they want me to stay to the bitter end. We'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second. For me, my average is 9. I would say 9 hours is what most people book me for. And I like this, especially because our company offers video as well. So for me, 9 hours is the perfect amount. Most of our couples who have us for photo and video have just me and then a videographer. And that means I don't have a second shooter. So we have to be able to go between the two rooms for getting ready. I think this makes sense for my company because I did not want to have 2 video and 2 photographers. It starts to feel, to me, less like a wedding. And that, again, 100% these are my opinions. But I find that most of my couples are having 150 guests. So me photographing that on my own plus a videographer, and then I always have an assistant with me. That felt like enough people that we had extra hands if we needed them, but it wasn't making my couple feel like they were on the set of a movie. And some people really want that, and that's always great. There have been weddings where I've had 2 videographers and 2 photographers. It really just depends on what my couples want, but I would say by and large, most of my weddings are me and a videographer, or me and a second shooter, or just me. And I would say that like 9 hours tends to be kind of that ability for me. If I don't have a second shooter, that is where there's enough time for me to do getting ready for both of the people in my couples. I would also say that 95% of my couples do first looks. I have like one wedding every year for the last 5 years that doesn't, for whatever reason. That's a-okay. For me, I tend to get a little bit more of a non-traditional couple that values spending their wedding day together and is less about the tradition of seeing each other coming down the aisle. I also shoot a lot of LGBTQ weddings, and I think that is maybe less of a thing in those communities. And I also will say that a lot of my couples are like, I want the cocktail hour food. Honestly, the cocktail hour food becomes kind of a theme in my meetings with my couples. And I love that. You should get to have whatever wedding day you want to have. And that's very much how I pitch this to my couples. But again, 9 hours for me is the perfect amount for like a first look, getting ready, having enough time to get each of them having their own moment. And then I rarely stay to the end of a wedding. I would say maybe 2 weddings a year. So for me, most of my couples, I stay till maybe about the last hour and a half. It depends on how their reception is structured and when they're doing their formalities in their reception. Most of my couples front load their reception, so almost all the formalities minus cake cutting happen right off the bat, and I love that. That works really well for me. So I tend to say that like as long as I've got an hour's worth of dancing photos and then dancing video if they have video, that seems to be a kind of enough for me. I do photograph my fair share of what I like to call party gays who want a big old party. I have a couple who one time they paid to keep me till their after party was over. I don't know if I would do that again because I was there till like 1:30 in the morning and I hated it. I didn't hate them. It's just, at that point, I think they had us for like 13 and a half hours. It was, they did not need all of that extra coverage. And down the line, I think they were like, we probably could have done without. But here's the deal. You want to spend your money that way? I'm happy to cover what you want me to cover. I just found that kind of having a bunch of different options worked really well for me. But kind of one of the other things I'd said in a past one of these videos, I don't want my couples to have so many options that they're like decision fatigue. So if you want to see my wedding pricing, they're right on my website, right under weddings. You can literally see my pricing guide if you're curious what I charge for weddings. I will say that right now my 2024 packages are a little cheaper just because I have been finding that a lot of my couples for this year are booking shorter packages and desire kind of a shorter wedding planning process. So I've been getting a ton of August, September, October wedding inquiries, which is fun because it's February and I love a short kind of planning process. And then my packages for 2025 and 2026 are significantly higher. I'm also starting to take a lot more weddings, kind of not just in the general area that I live. So that kind of is why I've raised my prices a little bit there as well. So for me, I found that I have 7, 9, and 11 for 2025 and 26. And then for 2024, I have 6, 8, and 10. And that was just kind of reflective of what I thought couples would want. But I always tell people when they inquire with me, if you're like, I'm dead set on 8 or 7 or something that I don't have listed, obviously I'm happy to make them a custom package. And that would be kind of what I would suggest anybody else to do as well. So the other question I wanted to answer for y'all today is around contracts and questionnaires and all that stuff. So the question that we got sent, again, the royal we, as my business coach calls it, what do you use for electronic signing for contracts and client questionnaires? I will say that I have had my fair share of trial and error when it comes to CRM software, which is client relationship management software. And I'm sure if you've been in this industry for any period of time, you've heard the name 17 Hats, Tave, Studio Ninja, Sprout, Honeybook. There are so many of them. I used Honeybook when I first kind of got into things, and then I jumped over to PixieSet because they launched their own kind of ability to do some contracts. And then I landed Dubsado. I actually did Dubsado for like maybe a year, but I've been with 17 Hats for the last 4 or 5, 2018, end of 2018. So basically from all of 2019 on. I'm not going to sit here and candy coat it to y'all and tell you everything is just absolutely perfect. I do like 17 Hats. I've stayed with them this long. There are things I don't like. Sometimes I find their interface to be a little clunky. I like their pricing. I like that everything is set up for me. And I like a lot of the way I can kind of automate things inside the workflow the way I wanted them to be. I will say that I think each CRM has its shining points and maybe its downfalls. For me, I just kind of picked 17 Hats at the end. I really didn't love Dubsado, which I know so many people who love Dubsado. My suggestion would be if you have no idea and you've never used one, sign up for a whole bunch of trials at once and instead of trying to learn all of the software, pick one task that you feel like is pretty integral. So for me, I wanted to know what making a contract, like one kind of client inquiry would look like. So what is their intake form? How does that all work? What does a contract look like? And what does a questionnaire look like? And how do I set those up and how do I send them? And I would just literally make another email address that I have. So my main is, hello@amandaswiger.com. I have swigerphotography@gmail.com. I would make that Swiger Photography email address kind of my fake client. And I would send stuff to it and kind of saw what I liked and what I didn't like. That's how I went about it and used all the free trials and then just landed on 17 hats. I really don't have anything bad to say about 17 hats other than, like I said, I do think that sometimes it's a little clunky in the way certain things work. But again, it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. And I feel like the price point for what you're getting is pretty great. And I love that I have an app on my phone and I can see things whenever I need to. So that would be my suggestion is if you are looking to get into a CRM and have not used one, definitely try some stuff out. I will say I did not like Honeybook. I did not like Dubsado. Sprout Studio was okay. I did a little trial with them for a while. A lot of people like that they have like their client galleries all in one with your CRM. I did not like that. Maybe that's something for another day. Maybe I'll do like a review of a bunch of these and my thoughts on them. Again, this is just my opinions. My best friend uses Tave and freaking loves it. I took one look at how complicated the back end of that was and was like, no, thank you. For her, it's a godsend. I have another friend who like swears up and down that Sprout Studio is like changed her entire business. We all are different, y'all. So like what works for me is not necessarily going to be what works for you, but try them. And if you really like something in particular, let me know. I'm always open to hearing if there's something new that's come about. I'm always open to trying some new stuff and seeing what else is out there. But to me, you have to find one that works for your brain. And they all kind of do the same stuff, to be honest with you. They all send contracts. They all send questionnaires. You can get paid through all of them. So that would be my answer for that. All right, y'all. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you back here next time. And as always, please remember you can send me your questions over on Instagram at @theamandaswiger. And if I feel like I can answer them, you may be finding your answer in your question on a future episode of this broadcast. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.